American Handgunner Insider.
Hey folks, Tom McHale here with another episode of American Handgunner Insider. I've got another special guest today. We are going to talk about real world training, and there's a word for that, but I'm not going to tell you just yet because we were chatting, Mr. Philip Chapino and I, we go back a little bit because I did a training program at your place. Boy, it's been too long now. I want to go back. But anyway, what we were chatting about is I just released a book on concealed carry that's been in the works forever. And, the quality takes time, I guess.
Absolutely.
And then we were talking and said, if I had to sum up the whole book in one thing, it's kind of like a reality check. Like, be realistic about what a self-defense encounter looks like in today's world. And we got to talking, and there is actually a word for reality of self-defense encounters. It's really a scenario, right?
Absolutely. We like to call it real life scenario safety and instruction.
Right. So what do you do to prepare for scenarios?
Scenarios, we focus first on what's more likely to happen, which is
No,
nothing.
you're supposed to say scenario training.
Scenario training, scenario safety training. Yes, thank you.
Okay, now you can continue. Sorry.
No, just proper scenario training should be based on what's more likely to happen, which is nothing. And
Yeah.
it should be purpose-based learning, which I
Right.
think a lot of scenarios nowadays, unless if someone's just doing it for entertainment factor or they're doing it something they might have seen in law enforcement or military, that's not a civilian application.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of training scars. So we
Right.
focus on a custom learning experience.
Well, and that's an important distinction because, here at FMG Pubs, we have a lot of former law enforcement people. There's, Brent, editor of Guns Magazine, and Eric as American Cop, and a lot of our writers are from, and they're absolutely, different types of training, right?
Yes.
They're much more offensive by definition, by
Yes.
need than civilians.
Well-
I call them civilians, but non-sworn officers, we'll get the terminology correct. So.
And a lot of training, especially if it's based on military or law enforcement, they're basically, you're only as good as who trained you,
Mhm.
right? So they've learned it either from the academy or what have you. And a lot of times they have to start at, on a scale of 1 to 10, they start at a 4 or they started at 10.
Right.
And what I mean by that is they're already starting where it's already going hands-on and they're learning how to restrain someone or, how to subdue them.
Right.
Or starting at, there's a immediate imminent threat. You have to use a firearm to defend yourself.
Well, I think you just indirectly touched on the key difference between that and can I just use the word civilian for non-police officers? Please don't get offended out there. I know the distinction. It's just much easier to say.
Yes.
So there's a big difference. And the big difference is when you're in law enforcement, being offensive, winning, I'll use loosely the word winning an encounter means subduing someone, taking them to custody, hauling them downtown to jail.
Yes.
Winning for me or you is a very different thing. It might mean running away
Yes.
and surviving,
Yes.
right? That is winning
The
a
legality,
self-defense encounter.
a lot of scenario safety and a lot of scenario training, I don't feel like it's doing it justice if you're not talking about the legality of the before, during, and after
Right.
a situation, because you can win the altercation, but then depending on what state you live in, depending on what county you live in, now you're faced with another battle after you survived
yeah.
the first one.
I mean, the book I was talking about is chock full of short case studies where people did everything right, technically speaking. They won, technically speaking, and their lives were ruined,
Yes.
for exactly the reasons you're
Yes.
saying.
And it's so important to look collectively a full spectrum, if you will, when it comes to proper scenario safety or proper training, is to make sure that they're protected both legally, civilly, and criminally.
Right.
And that's the part where we really we hard focus on that in a family-friendly atmosphere.
Right. So yeah, I when I went to training at your place in I'll call it West Orlando properly. I keep saying South, but my eyes were kind of opened. I thought it was an outstanding program because it was, why? I think because it felt very relevant to me as a regular civilian going about my daily life. I mean, the things we did in the training program were things you do in your daily life. They were standing at a counter at a convenience store or coffee shop, the world's most dangerous coffee shop, which is at his place, by the way. You will get shot there. I still have a lump on my finger.
World's
Thank you very
friendliest,
much.
23 hours
But-
of great service.
And, you do in training things like walking through a dark parking lot to get into your car or get out of your car. You don't just stand there and perforate paper targets at a range. So,
Transitional spaces.
Yeah.
It's very important nowadays. There's a lot of transients and transitional spaces.
Yeah.
And depending on when a potential predator approaches you, depending on what you do during that process can determine that interaction, whether it goes away or whether it escalates.
Right. Right.
So it's very important to really learn how to think and process faster under stress. And that's where a lot of people, they go to a range and they're already ready. They two-dimensionally and they're getting rounds down target, but they're not under stress.
Right.
And you don't know how you're going to react until you get put in that situation. So we wanted to try to role play and I'd say play pretend as real as possible
Yeah.
in scenario training. And something that our custom safety learning experience is something that we really want to get into schools and bring value to teachers
Right.
and other things that, again, everyone wants safety. So we really have a unique situation that we can bring value to the other half of the country
Right.
that may not be, really educated when it comes to firearms.
Well, you've got some specific things going on in Florida that you're kind of knee deep in.
Yes, we
For
do.
lack of a better word. Why don't you share
Yes,
that
we
with
do.
us?
Yeah. My download from up above is we want safety for everyone. That's been my thing where I want safety for my family when I'm not with them.
Right.
And so our learning process built around a flashlight and just learning how to think and react faster under stress, that has really led us to a learning process that we have brought a lot of value to teachers.
Right.
And, our age, when you think of if you're on fire, what are you supposed to do? Stop, drop, and
drop, and
roll.
roll. Yeah.
Everyone remembers that, right? Well, nowadays in an active assailant drill, they talk about run, hide, fight.
Right.
And 99.9% of the time, run away. Great. Know where you're going.
Right.
Hide, no problem. Lock the doors, turn the lights off, hunker down, call for the good folks, and hopefully they come. They might
Right.
be 15 minutes. They might be 55 minutes.
Right.
So those are the two things that you should absolutely do. Now, the half of 1%, if they have to fight, that's where you get a majority of teachers turn off. They don't engage because they're like, what am I going to do?
What's the training for
I'm
that?
not going to,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt someone. That's not why I'm here. And so what we've been able to do is go to them and say, listen, has any of you ever been approached by a stranger in a public place? And
Yeah.
most of them will go, yes. And it's like, well, we're going to show you with a flashlight some things that you can do to make yourself safer in your personal life. And then you can also, these are some concepts that you can also apply to the safety of your classroom.
Right.
And that we found it's been very successful. That helps engage and empower them to get more engaged with the safety
Right.
of their classroom.
Right.
And so that's something that we're going to be seeking an appropriation at this next session in Florida. And we have a fantastic representative, Susan Placencia, that is going to be kind of driving this. And we're going to do a get appropriation for a pilot program for 4 counties in our immediate area. And we're going to do a pilot program. And we're going to kind of bring a really cool learning experience to teachers that's a non-lethal option.
Right.
And I'm just so excited that we're really looking forward to bringing something that you haven't seen before. And it's because it's not a military or law enforcement application.
Right.
And no one else is doing it and nothing's like it.
Well, the cool thing about that is I don't think we can overemphasize the importance of what winning looks like in that kind of scenario. Winning isn't necessarily winning a gunfight with an armed attacker.
Yes.
Winning in Virginia Tech, at Virginia Tech, was 3 classrooms out of 5 getting their doors shut and
Yes.
barricade. That was winning
Yes.
because the injury and death tolls in those 3 classrooms were a small fraction of what they were in the other 2.
Yes.
And that's the kind of thing, whether or not teachers choose to be armed in classrooms,
Correct.
there are lots of things that can be done. So if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is we're going to teach them that the fight part of the run, fight, hide spectrum is maybe a lot more than you think it is.
Yes. Absolutely.
Whether you have a gun or not.
Absolutely. And if we can help just one person, we can just help one person, seek safety. And it's uncomfortable to want to learn tactical training or what have you. It's uncomfortable. It's very intimidating from the outside looking in.
Right.
And what we have is a custom safety learning experience for everyone.
Right.
At any age with no experience is required.
Right.
And so it's really going to revolutionize the safety industry when it comes to proposing non-lethal tactics and options. And we're just so excited about it. We couldn't be more thrilled. And it's a proven concept. Now we just want to bring more people into the mix.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to take away is, we're talking about pilot program in Florida. This is the kind of thing that it's being architected to go. everywhere. So
we are building this properly so that it can scale and it can be something that's nationwide.
Yeah.
Because again, everyone wants safety with or without a firearm.
Right.
And so that is something that every school, every teacher, everyone wants safety. And
Right.
this is a really cool thing to start to inoculate them, and it's a custom learning experience. There's nothing else like it.
right. So what's coming up on your calendar in terms of training opportunities for people?
You
You
know,
don't have to go into the like specific dates.
well,
But
the
what
cool-
kind of programs and topics are out
yeah.
there?
No. The good stuff is on our website, WOFT.com.
Mhm.
We have some really cool strategic partnerships where we're kind of a boutique. So it's a really cool team building thing to do. It's to learn safety.
Yep.
And then something that's family friendly with your kids. So you can
Yeah.
bring your children. We started age 5, just stranger danger.
Yeah.
And they learn so much and you retain so much more when you train with somebody that you care about.
Yeah.
And so we've seen
You've
families.
got the motivation, right?
You're the coolest. You're
Yeah.
the coolest person on property when you bring your family with you, because everyone else is like, oh, I wish,
Yeah.
oh, my sister, her kid's going off to school soon and we need
Yeah.
this, or hey, because nowadays, again, it's kind of spooky when you watch the news if you don't have something to focus on and really say, listen, if something happens, we're just going to deal with it.
Right. Right.
And safety training done properly also helps, I would say, set you up a little better, that unfortunately, if you are approached by a stranger, you deal with it a little better.
Mhm.
You react a little faster.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you safe, is learning to see it coming and get away.
Well, the light bulbs go off, with
Well, we're looking forward to having you
yeah, I'm
back.
dying to get back there actually.
We've got great partners, and it's one of those things where they see our vision of taking things around the country, and it's a couple things that we couldn't really do what we do without the proper insurance. And those are just things that partnerships like X Insurance and things that have really helped us, because scenario training is that gray area.
Yeah.
Where you might go hands-on, you might not. You might use a firearm, you might not. There's just a lot of things, and that gray area is where traditional limited, a range insurance doesn't cover, and jiu-jitsu MMA insurance doesn't cover. So we're really
I never thought about that angle. That's interesting.
yes, it's
Okay.
it's tremendous. And
Huh.
the people that have sought us out because they see what we're doing and the potential of what we're doing.
Uh-huh.
One other company is called Firearms Legal Protection.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where they're like, listen, we see the value of what you're doing and we want to help you take that across the country. So
Right.
it takes a village,
Right.
and we're very lucky that just other parents and other people see our value, and we look forward to having you back. And again, the family is welcome, and
Okay.
that's a really cool thing, is we live forever through our kids. Our kids are our true thing. And that's that's the genesis of wanting school safety.
Right. Yeah, it makes a difference when you have. I'm at the stage now where I've got young grandkids. They're a little too young. I mean, if you go down to 1 and 2 and 3, let me know. But otherwise, we're gonna have to wait a couple years. But
That's what Miss Kim and Miss Courtney, we have great
so
babysitters.
my
So-
wife and I will come in the meantime. So then, a little later, we'll.
Well,
follow up.
so for example, and again, this is the in-depth, the scale that we go to. Imagine if you brought, your kids, and they you brought your grandkids. The grandkids would be getting, in their playpen, or, watching, and they're outside having fun or looking at the cows.
Well,
And
they reload magazines, right? And I say no.
they can. We teach them young. No, but so for example, let's say your granddaughter, right? Or no, I'm sorry, let's say your daughter-in-law. When transitional spaces, when she's going grocery shopping with the
Mhm.
kids, that's a very dangerous time.
Yeah.
And so, for example, we would give her, however she carries the kids, we would give sandbags.
Yeah.
About the same weight. So now,
Yep.
how does she load them in the car? How does she keep awareness when she's loading and unloading them in the car?
Yeah.
With the stroller. If she wants to carry, where does she carry concealed? So like
Yeah.
comfort concealment and a lot of other
Considering that.
considering
Right.
that, right? They've got
Yeah.
little ones all over them. So how do they carry concealed? Because unfortunately, they're a big target.
Yeah.
For potential predators. And nowadays, you see it on the news. They're not worried about just one person. They're worried about a group of people.
Mm.
Pack hunting, if you will, and transitional spaces, grocery stores, gas stations.
Yeah.
So that's what we do at WAFT, is we build a safe set, like a movie set, and then we insert you in that, and you can learn so much by hitting play, and then we give you some experience on things. So unfortunately, if you're approached by a stranger, it's not the first time.
Yeah.
And so those pre-fight indicators and that situational awareness, we really immerse you in that. And that is where, no problem. If you just want a flashlight, you don't need a firearm. It's a great tool, but it's not something that the first go to. What's more likely to happen is just a stranger wants something from you. If you project your voice and you do something they're not expecting, it will potentially let them go to somebody else who is less of a target.
Well, the old saying, when being attacked by a bear, you don't have to be the fastest. No, I'm joking, but the truth behind that is nothing's binary. There's no guarantee that you're still not going to be the target of,
Yes.
a victim. But if you're more obviously the harder target,
Yes.
the odds are tilted in your favor somewhat. Then you go, well, maybe we'll work on the guy with his head buried in his cell phone instead of this person, right?
Our entire presentation starts off with what can we learn from nature about what nature does to be a hard target and how predators select prey. And when you can really dial it in and especially teachers, when you can show them this is value to not only yourself personally, but you can apply these concepts in your classroom, it's something that, again, no one else is doing. And I just can't wait to have you back and show you how we've improved since the last time you visited us.
I'm looking forward to it. So, WOFT.com.
WOFT.com.
All right. Check it out, people. Seriously, it will change your life and your whole way of thinking about what self-defense may really look like in your everyday world. So with that said, if you want more of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. FMG Pubs is our channel. Till then, we will see you next time. Have a good one and stay safe.
And until next time,
safe out there.
Stay safe and stay dangerous.
There you go. Even better. I like it.